Okay, so we got our snap cubes.
Yep.
So this will be heads.
And
yellow will be tails.
yep.
Okay. Alright, so Penelope starts in your simplified problem with 1 coin. So what are the possible outcomes for Penelope?
Well, a head or a tail.
Okay, and what are the chances of this?
Well, a head could get, you could get 1/2 head, 1/2 you could get a tail.
Alright, so 50% of the time Penelope's going to get a head.
And 50% of the time she's going to get a tail.
Okay, now Peter's flipping 2 coins. So what's going on with Peter?
Well, he could get 2 heads.
Alright, how often is that?
That's 25% of the time.
Okay, how come?
Well, because if you think about it, if you have the probability of flipping a head is 50%, so, and that's a half, and a half times a half is 1/4, because you have 2 halves here, which multiply to be a 1/4.
Okay, great.
25%, and then you could get slightly more complicated. You could get a head and a tail, which that would be 25% too, because you're multiplying a half and a half.
Okay.
25%, and then you could get a tail and a head.
Okay. How likely is that?
That's going to be, well, you're still multiplying 2 halves.
Okay.
And then, so that's 25%.
Alright, 25%.
And then you could get 2 tails.
Alright, is that on camera? Angle down a little bit more. Okay. 25%. Okay, great. Good thinking here, guys. So here's Peter's outcomes. Here's Penelope's outcomes. Let's figure out, how do you want to figure out who wins the game?
Well, we could figure out the ways where Penelope wins and the ways where Peter wins.
Okay.
And see which one has more ways to win.
Alright.
Well, let's check Peter first.
Okay.
So Peter can win. If Penelope gets a head, Peter can win by
Getting 2 heads.
2 heads. Because everything else for him is either, these are both tied, so Penelope wins.
Alright.
And
And then this is a loss.
So,
Okay.
but the chance of Peter getting a head is only 25%.
Okay.
2
So
heads.
this is a little tricky. So when he gets 2 heads,
He'll win no matter what. Because if Penelope gets a head or a tail, he still wins.
ah, okay. So maybe we can make a chart here for when Peter wins. Win for Peter. So he wins all the time when he gets 2 heads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 25% of the time he wins for sure.
And then, well, 25% of the time he loses for sure because of the 2 tails.
Why is that?
Because they could get a head, Penelope could get a head, and that they would win. And then Penelope could get a tail that would tie, so Penelope would win.
Ah, okay. So he wins 0% of the time if he rolls or if he flips 2 tails.
And then for these, it's the same for each of them, so I'm going to look at this one.
Okay.
If Penelope gets a head, it's a tie, so Penelope wins.
Alright.
If Penelope gets a tail, Peter wins.
Alright. So of this 25% of the time, how often does he win?
Well,
He wins 1/2 of that, so
Okay.
12.5%.
Alright, so on this one, do you understand that?
yeah, because 25 divided by 2 is 12.5.
Well, yeah, that's the math, but why does he win only half the time when he goes head, tail?
Because Penelope could either get a head or a tail, and when she gets a head, she wins.
And those are equally likely.
Yeah.
Okay. So 12.5 for this one, and you said it's the same on this one.
Yep.
So 12.5. So how often does Peter win?
Well,
Half.
let's see.
Looks like half the time.
And that's, yeah, Peter wins half the time.
Alright, so how often is Penelope going to win?
Half the time.
Let's see if we can understand the math for Penelope, too, just because it might be interesting. So this is the Peter win math. Now let's just do the Penelope win math, because there's only 2 cases.
Well,
How often does she win when she rolls ahead?
Well, she wins.
when
She wins 3/4 of the time because she can win if Peter gets this, this, or this.
Okay. So how often does she roll ahead?
she rolls ahead 50% of the time, and then she has to.
So it's 3/4 of 1/2.
Which is what?
Which is 3/8.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're doing 3/4 times a half.
Okay, so she wins 3/8 of the time. Here, half the time she rolls ahead.
Yep.
I mean, flips ahead. I can look at these and they think they're dice. And 3/4 of the time she wins, and 1/4 of the time she loses. What about when she rolls a tail? How often does she win?
She only wins when Peter gets this, because they tie for 0 heads.
Okay.
And then, so that would be.
That would be.
No, let your brother do it. Let your brother figure it out.
Well, she wins. Well, this would be. This is 1/4 of that, and she only rolls. She only flips the tail half the time, so
Yeah.
it's 1/8.
1/8.
Which adds up to be 4/8, which is 50%.
So just like we thought. So are you surprised?
Yeah. It seemed like Penelope was against the odds here, because she only had 1 coin.
Uh-huh.
But I guess that sneaky rule about her winning when there's a tie helps.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found a surprise here. When we went to Peter has 2 coins and Penelope has 1 coin.
Interesting.
Well, I wonder if it'll be true for all of them. Like,
Okay.
if Peter had 3 coins, it might be a little bigger, but we might be able to do it.
You want to try with 3 coins?
Okay.
Yep, Peter has 3, Penelope has 2.
Alright, let's set that up.
Okay.